Can you build an experience that draws audiences closer while establishing strong connection with the purpose of the entity? Can you do that? And when you think globally, you guys know Nike. Nike has always aligned itself with athleticism. So when you think about Michael Jordan, he was the first person who came out, the biggest role within Nike. But it wasn't about just what he did. It was about who he was. It was about all of those components. It moves from logic to emotion when you think about brands. So it's beyond a transaction. It's not just a transaction. So within the space you are in, you're thinking about building these businesses, you're thinking about building this technology, but you're thinking about transactions also. But you have to start with brand. And that's why I said today I have to talk about brand and then look to talk about speed. So the key thing that we pick from the brand is that it's not about you, it's about your consumer. It's about them. It's about that particular person. And because we live in this digital universe, that consumer is constantly changing. So this second part, I want to talk about speed. I want to talk about this consumer who's changing. And because this consumer is changing so quickly, the question becomes, how do you align yourself to get your product to that consumer? So what about the transforming customer? So we sort of live in this age of hyper-relevancy and omni-channel experience. What that means is that your customer is, when you think about it in this room, most likely people took Uber to get here, right? The number of people who are watching news is reducing. The number of people who are watching Netflix locally is increasing. The number of people who are creating vlogs on YouTube is increasing. All of these things are increasing. But the reason for that is because you as the customer are deciding more and more what you want. So when I think about my experience when I go to a bank, and this has happened to me personally. I went to a bank, we wanted to open a new bank account for our business, and then I was given a token slip, and it was number 6,500. We walked out. Then we went to another bank, and we walked in, and they had a tablet, and they took a photo, and by the time, and they told us, okay, that's cool. By the time we got back to the office, they had sent us an email and we had an account. The experiences are changing, and I as a customer, I'm becoming more and more and more specific about what I want. And that's not happening in one space, it's happening in every space. So with that proliferation of digital experiences, customers have moved from, you have 10,000 products, you have malls, and we know what's happening in malls. Malls are becoming empty and empty and emptier. And what's happening? I'm staying at home and I can pick what I want and it's delivered to me. The customer is king. The customer is continuously deciding what he wants. And as technology is happening globally, we want to experience the same way. So my question to you would be, if you think about the number of banks that we have locally, and you think about the experiences on those banks, and we've built a couple of websites, and we're always told, hey, we want this website to be interactive. Do you know what is defined as interactive? It has a lot of images. It's moving around. That's not being interactive. Those are those components. That's the disjoint. That's why we are sort of here. We're trying to figure out how we can, bridge that gap. 79% of banking, insurance, and fintech CEOs believe customer expectations are shaped by hyper-relevant, real-time, and dynamic experiences encountered across any industry. That's from Accenture. More and more, as those experiences continuously happen, as virtual reality becomes a thing, as augmented reality becomes a thing, as all of those components keep happening, we move from 4G to 5G. As that continuously happens, then the experiences that are required from the customer continuously keep evolving. And because of that, then we move to the next slide. Relevance is in the why. To understand the motivation behind the choice, companies must uncover the customer needs, wants, beliefs, and preferences. You're not just in the business of creating products and putting them out. You need to build them with the customer in mind. And with that customer in mind, then, so what's the answer? The answer is building more and more personalized experiences. So in the universe we exist in right now, what do more and more personalized experiences look like? And I'll ask a couple of questions. So you got in, you maybe took an Uber in the morning. You made a payment. Maybe you made a payment via card. Maybe you made a payment via M-Pesa. You got here, you're on your phone, you're on social, you're checking out something, you checked out your email. All of those are digital experiences. Digital is not something that we go to at the end of the day. It's the life that we live. It's all interconnected in our lives in such a way that your banking experience, your fintech experience cannot be something that you go to at the end. It needs to be something that works with you. If I wanted to withdraw money from my bank account right now, or if I wanted to withdraw money from my bank account, it needs to be as easy as, because I expect it to be that way. So as you're building those experiences, you have to be able to do that. We're talking about more and more about personalized experiences, and that personalization is what I want to talk about a little bit. When you think about personalization for us, it fits into 4 categories. There's one category around recognition, remembering, recommending, and relevance. Recognizing who your customer is and your unknown customer. In regards to remembering your customer's history. Where have they been? What have they done in the past? What are those components that add to the person that they are? When it comes to recommendation, then you need to be able to know all of those components and recommend something to that person that fits in with who that person is. I have a client who, for instance, a lot of the queries that come up online is that people are very pissed off that they keep receiving messages as men for products that are female. And it's a healthcare brand. So it will be gynecology, or it will be whatever. And why is all of that happening? Because it's from a data point of view. It is from we have this database, we are purely just going to send messages. So those components are changing, and that's recommending. Then relevance. Relevance is the key thing around personalization. It's such a core component in it. And with that in mind, we sit in this age of the single customer view. When you think about your businesses, and I want you to do this, when you think about your businesses and you think about marketing, and I'm very sure this is happening, you think about your business, you think about marketing, you think about digital and the digital ecosystem you live in. How much data do you actually have about your customer? Because that data exists. Do you have a website? There's a lot of data around your customer. Do you have an email address? Do you have a CRM? Do you have all of those components? All of those become touch points. You have one customer. This customer lives in one world, exists in multiple different worlds, and you need to be able to stitch all of those together. And with that single view, you need to be able to communicate to that person. So what we do is we look at that particular person and we try and map out all of these elements around them. From the CRM data, which is offline data. This actually applies to marketing. This ties in with it. To web and mobile data, communication responses. So someone is communicating with you online. Partners data, second party data. So second party data in our business is, for instance, let's say we partnered with a bank. That bank came in with some data. So being able to utilize that data as well. And external data, which is third party data, which is data that exists out there. So all of these components come together to create this single customer view. But this is more from like a global view. My question to the fintech individuals who would be in the space, mobile is really growing. Mobile is this massive thing. Apparently there are 900 million, I think, mobile connections this year or something of that sort. And the transactions continuously keep going up. My question to you would be, as you keep thinking about the fintech space, as you keep evolving within that space, there's a lot of data within mobile, and a lot of that data would be added here. Mobile transactions, transaction history, being able to build that single customer view with that in mind. So with that in mind, what we are looking at would look something like this. You have this single person up, you're able to recommend something to them. You're able to see how many visits they've had, the transaction frequency, components like that. But you're also able to go into spaces, for instance, around predictive analytics, being able to build a customer lifetime value of that particular customer. Some of this might seem like it's so futuristic, but it's happening right now. The number of e-commerce businesses that are continuously evolving and growing are so many. Personally, in our business, we handle maybe 10 to 15 e-commerce platforms. Those e-commerce platforms have so much data and there's a lot happening. And we're utilizing this to build one single customer view, and we are seeing higher transactions because we know exactly who we are targeting. With that in mind, what we've built, or one of the key components that we utilize, is called Igloo. Igloo for us has 3 components to it. It has a DMP, big words, it has a DSP, and it has what we call an AI, or personalization engine. Now, what's a DSP? A DSP is simple. Have you ever gone onto a website and you saw an ad, right? And you see those ads in there. Either they could be, it's a Safaricom ad and it's clicking, and yeah, you can click on it and you can go somewhere else. That is served by a DSP. So a DSP is simply an ad serving platform. And because of that, so that's one component. A DMP is a second component, which is a data management platform. It's very simple. It is taking your website, taking all your assets and connecting them to one data point, and then creating audience segments around that data point. And then we have the AI, or the personalization engine. So with that in mind, the DSP, for instance, allows us, we're connected to maybe 45 ad exchanges globally. What that means is this: I can serve an ad to this room, okay? So everybody in this particular building can see my communication specifically. I can serve an ad based on geographic, based on hyperlocation. I can serve it based on sex. I can serve it based on where you are. I can set up a geolocated ad. The way it works, it might not just be in this room, it might be who are the people who've been to this room 30 days ago, and continuously serve an ad to them. So the world that you live in is not your own. It's changing, it's growing, and because of that we have more and more power, and because of that more and more power, you have your mobile phones. Everybody here has a mobile phone. Right now, literally as you speak, it's pinging Safaricom. It keeps doing that. There's someone else who's collecting that data also. And because of that, that person can serve an ad to you. Okay. So that's one part, which is the DSP. The second part is the DMP. The DMP for us is purely about building audience segments. So we're building continuous audience segments around your business. We can take that business and really break down. So this is your website, and I want you to think about it that way. When you think about your business, think about what you're doing around data and think about it from a marketing point of view. What are all those segments and how you can connect them to this one single place and create this single customer view. So that's one element. The third element is what I was calling the AI, or the personalization engine. So what we do most of the time is that we'll have, give me your website, whatever the website is, we'll add a script to it, or a tag, is what it is, and it will continuously keep learning who comes to that website. And as it does that, it creates those segments that we're talking about. But it also does something else. It goes online and looks for what you'd call a lookalike audience, someone who looks like you, and it starts serving that ad to that person. So you went to Jumia and then the ads followed you everywhere. That's not the same. This is, you went to Jumia, you checked out bags specifically, you started receiving ads around bags specifically. Or maybe you went to a website and it's a sports website, and you had checked out, or you were interested in insurance, and you see an ad around sports and insurance. We call that dynamic creative. The universe we are living in is really changing. So it's becoming very, 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 very personalized. So these three components come together to create that. So with that in mind, when we're thinking about what the advantages of personalization look like, they really cut across all of these spaces. From building personas, not too complicated, it's simply every individual who's in here. What is it that you continuously do on a day-to-day basis? Thinking about it from a digital advertising point of view, could I run campaigns, and that's what we were talking about for why, which is really performance-based marketing, really driving campaigns that have a higher return on investment, inbound channels. So with that in mind, that's what this whole space looks like. So the whole basis of having this conversation today was really to say there are two parts that you need to be thinking about within your business. There's the brand part on one side, and then there's the performance part on the other side. In regards to the brand, it's not about logic, it's more about emotion. People are looking to connect with you. But on this other side, when we think about data and you think about what you're building, don't sit at it and think about it purely from a CTO point of view. Think about it from bringing in that CMO, have them as part of and parcel of that conversation, because you need that. There is a lot of data sitting there that nobody is necessarily using. And the universe we live in is heavily about personalization. Thank you.